What's up, people? We are back with more of Katawa Shoujo. This video officially kicks off the Lilly route. Sort of, we're not entirely there yet, but we're into the path that's with the next choice we can either choose to go towards the Lilly or the Hanako path. So that's something where I'm really going to be saving for sure, because after we finish the Lilly route we gotta do the Hanako one. So yeah, we're going to be doing the Lilly route for this particular just a couple of videos right now, or at least that's the order we did things for, and we've already finished the Emi and Rin. So Lilly's gonna be now, after that gonna be Hanako, and to finish things off, the Shizune. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Lilly route. I think a lot of people are looking forward to it as well, and have been really sort of telling me that it's one of the routes that most people have enjoyed the most. So I'm really looking forward to it. And Lilly as a character, although in the times that when I recorded Act 1, we didn't really interact with her too much, but I always had this feeling of, I don't know, like peacefulness when I was around her. Might be due to the fact that she is blind, I don't know, but just whenever we were hanging around with her, it's just, it's always felt like almost a strange kind of safety and just comfortable quietness sometimes. Although it's not quiet between us, it's not like awkward silence or a lot of silence that we don't talk to each other, but just the general mood and the atmosphere is really just gentle and peaceful. But yeah, that was my general first impression from the limited amount of interaction we had with Lilly. But now we're going to get into the thick of things, so really interested. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where this exactly is, but we'll figure things out along the road. Let's just start right now. But why would Lilly leave her to her own devices? It seems to be quite out of the ordinary, going by Hanako's reaction. Ah, that's right. I think Lilly mentioned something about going into town today before Rin bumped into us. So this is definitely after the point, if you guys remember, like, I think it was at the beginning of the Rin route, where you go into town with Lilly to go to the supermarket and you bump into Rin, and it's like Rin is like lost or something, and then ultimately us three of us walk back together at night to Yamaku, and you had the option of saying either like, yeah, I'm really tired, or like, I'm in bad condition, and that's what we do. And then we ultimately end up in the Lilly/Hanako route. So yeah, that's sort of a little bit of the information of what went down before this. The thought of that walk makes me look outside. The bright sun and occasional people wandering around and enjoying the afternoon makes me yearn to get out of the school, or at least do something other than sit here. Giving in to one of my worst vices, procrastination, I decide that history is a subject best studied on a Sunday, or a Monday, or any other day than this one. I give a grunt as I lever myself out of my seat. I briefly debating with myself whether or not to hang out with Kenji. That's a definite no. I mean, we know what happened in the previous video, right? Hanging out with Kenji? Oh, no, he's gonna push us down the roof. He doesn't strike me as the enjoying the nice weather outside with others kind of person. Really. I guess I'll catch up with him later. Changing tacks, I briefly entertained the idea of talking with Hanako, but by the time I look at her seat, it's vacant. She must have left for the library. There's got to be something that can that can kill the time. Okay, this is the choice, the all-important choice, where if we go to the library, I mean, Hanako is basically, the one place where you can find her is the library. So if we were to go with this option, we would go into the Hanako route. Go for a walk into town is going to put us in the Lilly route. So I'm just gonna save right now. Beautiful. I have like a million save files or something, but yeah, go for a walk into town. The Lilly route officially starts now. Following Hanako to the library seems a bit intrusive. There was a reason she left the classroom after all. And that aside, I do want to catch up with Lilly. At the very least, I'd like to thank her for looking out for me, despite her other, obviously taxing duties. I guess I'll walk around town. With any luck, I should be able to find Lilly. The exercise will do me some good as well. Walking through the school courtyard to the gate, I give a small nod to a couple of passing classmates, the gesture being returned in kind. Even from here, The shouts of the sports club members can be heard. From the sheer volume of the din, the track must be packed right now. I remember what Lilly said yesterday about being dropped right into the middle of a busy time for the school. While I'm trying to get my bearings and catch up on study that I've missed, everyone else is doing normal school activities. The feeling of being a foreigner still hasn't dissipated. At least, not yet. Well, I guess not everything's bad. This is a private school, and that much is easily noticed when walking around outside. Not only are the school grounds huge, but the buildings themselves are immaculate, and quite divorced from the dime-a-dozen concrete blocks of public schools. There's also the fact that there's a much stronger feeling of community here, or at least a friendlier atmosphere. At my school, it was generally accepted that people would keep to their little clique and be done with it. Eventually, I reach the gate and begin to walk down the road and into town. Lilly is so brave to just go out of town or into town on her own, despite her disability. Because that's what she wanted to do last time as well, like at the one when we meet her while going to town. Like, for a person that's blind, she doesn't even have one of those dogs that sort of tells her when it's safe to cross the road. She just has a stick. Like, that's gonna be really, really troublesome. Well, that was fairly productive. Having seen a fair portion of town, even including the houses perched on the hill around the outskirts, I decided to take a walk around the park before heading back. Living in the city all my life, the total lack of smartly dressed businessmen and fashionably dressed girls strikes me as incredibly unusual. All that's to be seen are the odd elderly person shuffling along the sidewalk and assorted busily chatting pairs of middle-aged women outside of small storefronts. Walking along the road to the park quickly distracts me from them, though, making me realize that I perhaps pushed myself further than I should have done to see as much as I could. As my breath begins to wheeze and my chest tightens more and more, I give up on the prospect of soldiering on. After a quick glance around the park as I enter, I take a seat on a wobbly old bench that I notice near a couple of vending machines. For minutes on end, I sit with my head bent over, forcing myself to take deep breaths. I feel more like an old man than a teenager who should be in the prime of his life. The stay in the hospital, the surgery, and the medications must be taking their toll on me. Damn it. Eventually, my breathing returns to normal, and the muscles in my chest loosen, not without a fair measure of relief. I guess this means the end of my little sojourn, though. In any case, there's a cafe on the far corner, so I'll stop by to quench my thirst before heading back. Oh, this is where Yuko works, right? A little bell above the door signals my arrival to an empty counter. For a few moments, I stand there waiting, my eyes every now and again drifting from one end of the counter to the other, searching for a service bell. Eventually a door, some ways behind the counter, opens. The person emerging from it, taking me by complete surprise. Yuko? Hi! I had no idea you worked here. I really have no idea how to address her either, given that she is technically school staff as well, as apparently a waitress. Yes. She quickly paces up the counter before flinging up her upper half downwards in an overacted bow. Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your order? Straight down to business, I see. I don't know. Well, some coffee, please? Yes, certainly. I'll make it right away and bring it to you when you're done. Thanks. Yuko's formality takes me aback. She seems to take her job very seriously. Obeying her instructions, I turn around and quickly glance around a free table. Considering the cafe seems to be empty, this is a simple task to accomplish. As I walk towards the table adjacent to the window, I notice a flash of yellow around one of the table dividers. Lilly? Who's that guy? Lilly, are you cheating on me already? What's going on? Sure enough, no more than a glance is needed to ascertain that it's a certain Sato at the table. That said, I don't recognize the suited figure across the table from her. Okay, that better be her brother. Blonde, fair-skinned, and only a little shorter. He? She. I think she must be a relative. Really? A she? Kinda looks like a he. Since the two are all but silent, as the suited figure takes a swig from the cup of coffee, I decided to greet Lilly. Some part of my coming here was in order to meet her after all. Hi, Lilly. Hisao? Yeah, nice to see you again. The student girl looks up, noting my uniform with a relaxed smile. Know each other well? I guess. It's as good an approximation of our relationship as I can think of. Care to take a seat? She says this to the air beside me, but the message is clear enough, and I take a seat beside her. I suppose some introductions might be in order. If it's really girl, that better be the sister. Hisao, this is Akira Sato, my older sister. Akira, this is Hisao Nakai, another Yamaku student. Looks like my guess was correct, ma'am. The newly introduced Akira gives a nod, which I return. This is really more like the haircut. Really reminds me of, it's kind of a guyish hair, which you might see in several animes or something. What I don't return, however, is the almost analytical gaze with which she looks me over. As she does so, Yuko walks up to the table and carefully places the coffee on the table before bowing and taking her leave. Gently bringing my hand to the side of the cup, I realize that it's already at just the right temperature to drink. After taking a sip, the flavor turns out to be just as good as the temperature. Yuko seems a lot better at this than being a librarian. I take a good, long drink before relaxing into the seat. It takes me mere seconds for Akira's examination to come to an end. Apparently, becoming quickly bored with the activity, she turns to her sister. So, how's school recently? It seems Akira is entirely unconcerned with someone she doesn't know at all, listening to everything they say. Not that I mind. Leaving them to their chatting, I sit back and continue drinking the pleasantly aromatic coffee. Sounds like it's pretty busy for you then. At least I'm not cooking your meals after school anymore. As they talk, I slowly realize that I'm entirely unable to gauge Lily's emotions through her eyes, as I would for any other person. It becomes slightly unsettling as I subconsciously focus on that fact. That's so annoying, right? When you see something weird, like you just notice it for like 1 second and you're like, hey, what? That was a little bit weird that I noticed. And that takes up like your entire focus, and then you can't stop doing anything else but focus on that quote-unquote kind of strange or weird thing that you just found out about. Oh my god, that is the worst. Wow, so cold. Weren't you cooking for yourself anyway? I only ever got leftovers. That's not the point. Are you managing to feed yourself at least? I can cook without blowing myself up, you know. Mostly. That's... It's fine. I needed to learn sometime anyway. What's with her in the suit though? Not to say that girls can't wear suit, but they generally prefer not to or do not at all. So there must be a specific reason why she's wearing a suit, you know? Lilly. Everyone present is momentarily distracted by Yuko, who places a cup of tea on the table for Lilly. Taking the moment to glance at her watch, Akira levers herself off her seat and gives me a quick nod. Well, I'd better be off. It was nice talking to you, Lilly. Akira, do you have to... Lilly looks genuinely mournful at her sister suddenly leaving. It does seem like she might have the wrong idea. Sorry, I need to get back to work. They'll be on my neck again if I don't make it back quickly. So informal. Akira's trim and tidy appearance would give anyone the wrong impression of her. Bye, Akira. Come on, don't look so down. I'll be around again soon. See us. With that, she waltzes out of the Shanghai with her hand held high. Lilly still looks pretty depressed, so I try to make some small talk in an effort to take her mind off it. She seems nice. We used to live together, but now that I live at school, we hardly ever see each other. Despite Lilly having been quite affable, I still don't really know much about her. In hindsight, it's surprising just how much she's extracted from me. Really? You used to live together? Was it somewhere around here? It was pretty far south, so the trip into Yamaku was fairly long. With her working hours getting longer, and Yamaku being so far away, there was little choice in the end but to move into the dormitories. Well, that explains the chatter about cooking. Evidently regaining her composure, she livens back up, at least in part. I take it you're better rested now. Sorry? You sound less exhausted than you did when you first came in. To be able to pick out my breathing like that, she must have pretty good ears. Well, that's generally what happens when one of the what is it called? Senses? I think senses, right? When one of the senses of a person is, I think, isn't it that humans have like 7 senses? Touch, smell, feel, sight, that's 4. It's gotta be 3 others. I don't know exactly how they are, but those are the 4 that I can think of. But yeah, in 10 seconds. But when you lose one of those, it's generally, I guess it's common knowledge. I don't actually know if it's true, right? Because I don't know out of experience, but it's always being said that, like, for example, if you're blind, all your other senses become stronger. If you can't smell, all your other senses become kind of stronger. Although I've never heard it about smell. But it's like if you can't, I don't know. It's mostly about if you can't hear and if you can't see, right? And the other senses kind of become stronger in a sense. But yeah, it would make sense for her to have pretty good ears because, that's the thing that she has to go off of knowing what's going on in her surrounding. If you can't see, then it's definitely she has to have good ears. Otherwise, she'll just be missing a lot of things and just be almost out of the loop every single time, which is what I imagine, a person wouldn't like to be, especially one who I feel is very attentive, like Lilly. Yeah, ended up walking all over town, despite only planning to take a short walk down here. Reminded me of my thirst from the walk. I lean forward to take a sip. Without further ado, Lilly starts on her cup of strong-smelling tea. I guess I'd better get going back to Yamaku. There's only so long I can stall studying for, and I want to get a good night's sleep before the festival. Standing from my seat, I take the coffee-stained cup from the table. You're leaving? Yeah. You going to head back as well? It's getting kind of late. For a moment, she pauses, before lifting her face over her teacup, as if she was looking at me. Yuko, could we have one more coffee, please? Okay, I'll bring it right away. That's not subtle. She gives me a short giggle. At my frank assessment of her maneuver, it's surprisingly childish and carefree, given her otherwise collected appearance. In the end, though, I have little reason to refuse. To be honest, I can hardly say no, all things considered. Giving a manufactured sigh, I take a seat opposite her. Wanting company, then? I'd say that it's more than I was wondering. I see she's in a questioning mode again. She does seem to be unusually interested in me, or at least curious. Do you have any siblings? Not exactly an unexpected tangent. No, only child. To be honest, the idea of having someone that close makes me a bit envious. Interesting. I raise an eyebrow, which of course goes unseen. Oh yeah, we gotta get used to this, you know? Like, we gotta get used to the fact that when we go into a different route with a different character, we gotta, you know, be able to adapt and adjust to the fact that that other character has a different disability than the previous one from the other route. So that's something we have to get used to again, you know? Because I made a couple of faux pas in the Rin route, for example, with the high five and that sort of thing. And with the... I probably did it in Emi route as well. And we're probably going to do it in this route again as well. But, you know, it's something I gotta get used to for at least a little while. The short silence communicates the question well enough. It's just that others have said the same thing before. It's a difficult subject to try and think about objectively, given that I've always had someone like that. I can mostly understand what Lilly means, given that it would be hard to place oneself outside of a situation they've been in all their life. She and her sister must have a pretty close relationship. Taking pains to interrupt us as little as possible, Yuko dutifully comes over and places a cup on the table. Lilly thanks her as I sit back, taking in this vexing girl in front of me. Despite always seeming to be on her guard and in control of herself when talking to others, she has an almost childlike curiosity about other people. That probably comes from the fact that she can't see, I guess, you know? Because, a lot can be picked up just by sight alone, right? Like, if you just see another person, you can already come to, or at least not necessarily come to several conclusions, but just you can already get a sense of, like, just from how a person looks, for example. Most people tend to draw a first conclusion, or like, that guy looks kind of scary, therefore he must be mean, or he like has a tough demeanor and that sort of stuff, you know? That's things that Lilly can't do because of her lack of sight. So I guess she tries to make up for it a bit by being very curious and asking a lot of questions, and that's how she draws the picture in her mind of that person, or how that person would look like to her, you know? That said, those rare moments she seems to slightly lower her guard are the most insightful into how she thinks. Reaching forward for my drink, I realize something I probably should have noticed before. I think I'm starting to become kind of curious about her. Who wouldn't be? Despite making a good pace, it's already nightfall by the time I reach the large iron gate in front of the school. While it's nice to have plenty of time to wander around by virtue of living right next to the school, I can't help but get the feeling that very few students actually take the opportunity. Wow, the school actually looks very, very pretty and kind of peaceful at night like this, with a few street lamps, a couple of the, like, you can see who the night people are. Probably I would be one of those for sure if I were to live here. Compared to a number of students I see milling around on campus during free time, it's startlingly rare to see anyone around town, given the large number of accommodations and facilities that the school offers. Many of them might simply not see any point in venturing outside, let alone people such as Hanako and Kenji. It makes me wonder if students like Shizune, Misha, and Lilly are the exception for the school, rather than the norm. As I wander back to my dorm room, I continue to compare my old school with Yamaku, and as I do so, I begin to be surprised that I managed to get even this used to everything that's happened to me.